Good morning. It's my honor and privilege to be here, and I'm happy that I'm doing a conversation with Ritesh. I see him maybe 4 to 6 times a year, but he's definitely somebody I always enjoy meeting. And while he's a very successful entrepreneur, he's a very warm person, and he makes an effort to make people feel comfortable. My friend just mistook him for George Clooney, but he still went on, behaving like George Clooney. He mistook him for somebody else for a moment, but I don't want to give that name away. So let me welcome Mr. Ritesh Agarwal. Please give him a big round of applause. I was on a flight from Bombay to Bangalore, and that's the time I write columns or I read books. So I was reading this book called Super Founders, which I talked about yesterday, and it's written by a guy who's put in more than $3-4 billion in companies at the early stage. And in that book, I did send it to him. It's written by Ali Tamaseb, and he was talking about founders who've really done well. It's an amazing book, and I found Ritesh's mention in that book, so I sent it to him. So Ritesh is somebody who's not just acknowledged in India or acclaimed, but people outside India who understand investing and entrepreneurship have recognized what Ritesh has built and trying to build to the next level. So Ritesh, one of the things about you, you started very, very early. How did that happen?
So first off, sir, thank you for having me here. Yeah, it's okay. Thank you for having me here, sir. Thanks for mentioning about the book. I have not checked it out, but I will check it out now as a commitment. Thank you all of you for joining in. I met a few entrepreneurs outside, like you mentioned. So it was fantastic to just see the energy brimming. There is something about Bangalore that, I always say that startup is in the air here. So this is fantastic. I think, look, I just wanted to begin by sharing that I'm genuinely very thankful for the love we've gotten, over the years, and probably, hopefully, if all goes well, probably will continue, because during COVID, everyone who analytically looked at our business from, not everyone, a lot of people from outside sort of did some analysis and said that OYO is not going to see through the crisis. But because there were so many people who believed that not only will we come out, we will come out stronger on the other side. I think, we've had now 4 or 5 straight months, where every month has been probably the best month ever since COVID. So I'm very, very thankful about the love for us to persist and come out stronger on the other side. I think, like you mentioned, sir, yes, I grew up early, and I grew up in, I set up the company early. I grew up in the southern half of Odisha, in a place called Raigada, in the Odisha-Andhra Pradesh border. So that's why I speak reasonably fluent both Odia and Telugu as well. Now, growing up, I had no complaints because I just did not know any other place outside my town. I just wanted to do something different. So I started selling telecom SIM cards. Then I felt maybe this is not good enough. I will set up an online railway booking service where basically, I would become like an agent on IRCTC. So I kept trying to do different things. But long story short, right after 12th grade, I was naive enough to think that I should set up a company of my own. The reason I say naive enough is because if I knew how hard it was, I'd probably have never done it. Because, I was just reading TechCrunch, tab hota tha, plug.in, your story. So I read all these publications. I felt it must be easy. Everybody is becoming so successful. So I'll also try and become an entrepreneur. Then I started and I realized, gosh, it's so hard. But it's okay. I think by then I was halfway committed, so I had no choice. I think the early days of the journey, I just distributed in 3 parts. The first is, when I look back, it feels a combination of very hard from today, but at that point of time looked like it was luxurious, right? I would do, I don't know how many of you would know Delhi. I used to live in Ghaziabad, in Vaibhav Khand area, so I'd go to the Vaishali Nagar station, and work was in Gurgaon. So every day I would crisscross 2 extremes in a metro train for many months straight. A friend of mine was very kind to host me at his house, so I could not even afford to rent a place of my own. back then there was no complaints. I felt how amazing, right? How many 12th graders get the opportunity to build a company of their own. But today when I look back, I feel like, that was quite an effort, right? So I think I think I'd encourage other entrepreneurs to not be worried about the effort in the early days, to just enjoy it, and feel like it's a part of the process. It's like, if you want to become a batsman, you have to, a lot of times be at nets and play all kinds of bowlers, and it's okay. The second thing I'd say is meeting our consumers and our hotel owners directly was a great learning experience. A lot of times, people get business ideas and they feel like, let me try and set up a company, register a business, make a product and sell it to them, and then I will know whether I have a product market fit or not. I have realized that just speaking to your customers and business partners before you set up a business is probably the best way to get started. So, when I was getting started, the first thing I did was every day I'd go and meet some hotel owner, some customer sitting at the same reception. And I learned little things, right? For example, I learned consumers cared about getting clear pricing. So you will see that in most booking websites, you will see X price plus taxes plus others. On OYO, you'll always find a full price. There is no plus, plus, plus various things, right? Because consumers cared about it.
No conditions apply.
No conditions apply. वो तो पहले breakfast was also included. Later we changed it because some customers said we don't need breakfast, so we'll pay for it extra if we need. नहीं तो शुरू में तो we said breakfast and Wi-Fi and taxes, everything included. There's just one price. So learning directly from consumers and owners was, it mattered to me. And my suggestion to everyone would be, no matter what business you want to start, you want to start in agriculture. Sure, go and meet a few farmers, go and meet a few distributors who sell seeds if you're in the seeds business or whatever business you want to be in. If you want to be in, let's say, logistics, go and meet a few people in the logistics business, meet the people who are in warehouses. The learnings that you'll get from there will allow you to design your product and business a lot better. And I'd say the last one is just, having a great team, sir. I think I'm just very lucky that I'm surrounded by a fantastic team who has stuck along all through the journey. And the reason that was possible is because I just spent a lot of time meeting people. बहुत समय बिताया. Initially तो कोई मिलने को ही तैयार नहीं था. Most people would say, what he can do, I can do better. I'll tell you this real story. Somebody wrote an email to one of our investors very early, saying the idea of OYO is good, the business is good, but the founder is not that good because he's just a 12th grader. So what you do is, you make him chairman and make me the CEO and distribute our ownership by half. And it was just fascinating.
Very kind
right?
boy.
Huh?
Whoever wrote the mail was very kind. He was giving you half of the company.
I was
He could have taken 100% on his mail.
half of the company left after the investors' ownership, of course, then, right? So I think you'll find some people like that who will just basically, especially if you come with less, background, right? Like will basically look at you and say that how can she or he make a difference? But you should never take it to your heart. You should just focus on your business, make a positive difference every day, and you will increasingly find people who will want to come and work with you. मेरे को 1.5 साल तक, for a year and a half, finding even an intern was hard. And then one of my friends introduced me to Abhinav. Abhinav's our CEOs, still with the company. He joined us when we were 2 hotels strong. He came in and then he brought 5 or 6 people he knew. Then somebody else we brought in. He was able to bring a few other colleagues. So 2 things in recruiting good talent. One, don't wait to recruit a senior leader or a co-founder before you start the business. Business shuru kar do, usko dekh ke other people will want to come and join you. And the second is to make sure that if you bring one good person, they will bring few other good people with themselves. I mean, how many of you have heard about PayPal and Peter Thiel? Some of you have, right? Yeah, okay. Quite a big room has. So, PayPal built such a fantastic team that they have a community called the PayPal Mafia, which is all the early management team, and they've all gone to become very successful, right? Absolutely, absolutely. Now, very early when I had the opportunity to, read throughout Peter Thiel, one of the things I was very curious about is how did he build this management team of the PayPal Mafia? So I constantly kept thinking. And then I read somewhere that he recruited one person who was exceptionally sharp. And then he asked him, who are the 10 people in your entire life who you think you respect the most. They went and recruited 8 of them, right? So get one person right, they will, of course, the other way is also true. You get one person wrong, will also have similar negative impact. But I think, you in life you will win some, you lose some. You just need to win more than you lose. So sorry about the long answer to a short question, sir. But
Absolutely.
three big takeaways is, don't be afraid of doing the hard work and don't मतलब खुद को कोसो मत कि इतना मुश्किल जिंदगी जीना पड़ रहा है. It's a part and parcel of life. You start somewhere and then if you keep doing well, it'll be okay, and enjoy that process. So perseverance and enjoying that journey of perseverance. Second is meet your own stakeholders, and third is get started and keep meeting people, and you will run into right people to work with you.
Absolutely, Ritesh. I relate to that. Now, Ritesh, I met you on 8th March this year. It was the one day before Karwa Chauth or around that time. And you said normally Karwa Chauth numbers in terms of occupancy of hotels are less, but we're having a bumper day, right? And a bumper month. And you said the last 4-5 months have been like that, right? They've been good months, right? A lot of people were negative on the contact businesses, hospitality being one of them. So, and hence they tend to bring their pessimism or lack of understanding of tenacity in the judgment they have about you and your business. What do you have to say to people who from time to time may have doubted you, even after you having built this scale, having got the trust of so many investors? I mean, investors are wise, they're not just putting money like that. The nature of investing is such that some companies will be super successful, others may be a little less successful. So what do you say to people who are constantly, media is judging you, other entrepreneurs are judging you, and we all are sensitive. You come across as a sensitive person. I'm sure it impacts you. How do you deal with it?
I think there are 3 questions in these. So I'll go to all 3 of them. The first is, this was Navratrika period. And if Navratri generally is not good for travel business because people move to more vegetarian only food. They like to be around family for a few days and so on. But this year was different. In that month, if I'm not wrong, we had, or around that, we had 1.27 lakh bookings in India every day for the entire month, right? So, and again, I'm very thankful that for 2 years, which was, not very good for travel due to COVID, people were not traveling. And, a lot of people said, will people ever travel again? Will it be interesting for people at all or not? But we kept going with the belief that humans genuinely like to travel. They like to go out. They like to meet their friends. They like to see new towns, cities, and so on. So I was just meeting someone outside who made a new house in Madikari near Kur. I think it's like this is something that we all enjoy. So I think I'm very thankful that we kept going. And thanks to the love of our tens of lakhs of millions of customers in India, that we continue to go strong and we continue to have lots of travel demand. I think the second question, sir, which is about contact business versus not. During COVID, a few times I was asked, what sector do you recommend entrepreneurs to pursue? So I always said, don't go to the hot sectors, right? That time you all know what were the hot sectors, right? I said in the hot sectors, there are hundreds of people going there. You choose the sectors which are not hot. For example, travel is what? Travel was not hot during COVID, right? But the companies that entered into travel in the last 2 years are now reaping the fruits of it. Now, not to mention our company, I believe our company is also reaping fruits. But so are entrepreneurs who entered a sector which nobody else. So I always say, don't get into sectors that everybody else is going in. You have to trust your judgment, your conviction. That's an entrepreneur's job, right? Entrepreneur is contrarian by, system, right? Everybody is believing that ये successful होने वाला entrepreneur किसी और रास्ते जाता है because they see a longer term aspiration. So I feel like I continuously want to reiterate that if you're getting into a sector which is non-hot, it's okay. You actually have higher chance of success, but it will be larger hard work also. So that you have to be open about. Third and the most important is criticism. I think critical commentary, right? So I think that's a very interesting question, and I think of it in the following way, sir. I think that first off, I have received much more love than criticism. maybe 95% love and 5% critical commentary. So first off, I'm very thankful for all the love. Aap sochiye, I always tell this when I speak to my, one generation before, folks, family, parents, and so on. That time, getting a government job was the biggest aspiration. In my time, the biggest aspiration, get an IT job, right? But increasingly, and I think it's still my generation only, but I think there's a rapid shift happening where people want to be entrepreneur first, right? My mom for a long time used to be concerned, saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing entrepreneurship? We live in a country in 2016 when Startup India started. Honorable Prime Minister said a lot of times when I was listening to Ritesh, I was thinking that instead of being a tea seller, I should have started a hotel. Now, he didn't have to say it. But for that makes a huge difference in every family in our nation saying that, maybe an entrepreneurship is a good career for people to pursue. So I think that's one. I'm very thankful for the love from other entrepreneurs, communities, new entrepreneurs who are pursuing their businesses, our customers, broader communities is just incredible. And I feel that criticism, thoda bahut, is fine. Second is I think critical feedback is also very valuable for us to learn. उसमें ना हम लोग we are very smart in, at least we feel so. सबको अपने आप को लगता है हम smart हैं, but हमको लगता है कि we are able to differentiate noise and signal. कई बार critical feedback अच्छी भी होती है. 2 साल पहले, 2 years back, we had some owner issues with us, which was real. And we took feedback and were able to improve. For example, we used to pay out our owners once a month. Now we pay them twice a week. That came because of some criticism we got. So we don't mind criticism which comes with signal. There is some noise that will always be there. We have, increasingly it affects us, of course. But, over time, we've learned to try and make the effort lesser as possible. So I think that's sort of how I think. So keep your friends close. Keep your critiques closer is my learning over the years.
Ritesh, this summit is a unicorn summit, BW Business World, BW Disrupt Unicorn Summit. Now, Uber scaling up, scaling up fast has become a way to build unicorns, has become a way to build businesses that are both profitable and valuable. How do you scale up? What is your advice to people whose businesses are stuck at a certain level? How do we break through and scale up?
I think this is a discussion that I can go on for days because we've made quite a few good decisions, but we've also made few mistakes in this process. So I can go on for long, but I'll try to keep it as concise as possible. I think सबसे पहले the critical question is why scale? There's some businesses who don't want to scale and some businesses who want to scale. So you should decide upfront whether you want to scale your business in the first place or not. So I think, and in that, of course, each person has their own choice. But the decision to scale for us, sir, came from a very simple perspective. That is, what inspires me to come to work every day, what inspires my colleagues to come every day, is that we all want to make large-scale impact. Right? Our lifestyles have not changed very dramatically between when we started the business now, or it will not change in the future as well. We are the same people. But building OYO was unique because we felt that इससे हम लोग बहुत बड़ा difference create कर पाएंगे. We'll have large number of people जिनको OYO impact करेगा. And hence scale was natural for us. We cared about scale. But other entrepreneurs are very different. One of the entrepreneurs that I know says that मुझे नहीं करना scale. I want to build my little business who impacts a local area. I want to build the best honey in my town, sell it to people in the nearby locations, and it's a good business. You can be successful doing that as well. But if you do decide that you want to scale, there are a few things that we've learned, and I'll share some stories about it as well. The first one is scale about geography. We started in Gurgaon, and then we scaled nationally. My colleague, in fact, who launched over 100 cities is here somewhere, our Chief Growth Officer. He's been here with OYO for over 6 years. So, we started with one city. We went from Gurgaon to Delhi. So I'll tell you very interesting. The first hotel owner said, "Aap to Gurgaon company ho, Delhi is different. Okay, you're a Gurgaon company, but Delhi is different." Next city we came was Bengaluru. Our first hotel was in Brigade Road. Our owner said, "You're a North company, Bengaluru is different. I said, okay. Then Bengaluru became successful. After Delhi, Bengaluru also became successful. Then we went to Goa. In Goa, people said, you are an urban city company. Goa is leisure. Goa is different. So we learnt about Goa and tried to make that successful. Then we went to Shimla. In Shimla, people said, you are an urban and beach town company. Hills are different. अभी ये सब तो इंडिया था. Then we first went to Kuala Lumpur. In Kuala Lumpur, people said, you're an India company. Kuala Lumpur is different. So we said, okay, now we run thousands of hotels there. Then we went to UK, Europe. They said, you're an Asia company. Europe is different. Then we went to US, and in US people said, you have never been to the northern hemisphere. The hemisphere is different. So what I've realized over time is that scale may the first reaction people would have around yourself is that for some reason, why does your scale not make sense? And again, you have to distribute the noise from the signals. Signal is, we were always curious ki how is it different? Kuch सच्चाई भी थी उसमें. There are differences in all these markets, right? We used all this learning to improve our product. We almost built that as like a product pipeline, saying whatever learning we're getting, we'll build it in our pipeline as a new product. In Goa, people wanted children area as an access. In Bengaluru, the breakfast choices were different for our users. In Kuala Lumpur, Kuala Lumpur city versus Johor and Penang had very different use cases for customers. We learned from it. So we use that as a learning rather than to get scared and not to be able to build business. Some places we failed also. We were not successful in some places, but like I said, you win some, you lose some, but you have to win more than you lose is what we typically do. And now we are, of course, just going after the places we want. So one, don't get disheartened when you're trying to scale. Be perseverant. Second, try to have a playbook. What's a playbook? A playbook is a simple document by which whatever you have done one or two times and can be repeated without much changes every time. Because you alone can't scale, right? Technology and people are the only two ways to scale. So if you have a playbook, playbook say you can continue repeating your business over and over again, right? So playbook is a second one. And it doesn't just apply to business. You may be running an NGO. You may be running a big campaign. In each one of these having a playbook, I'm sure you have a playbook as you do hundreds of franchise across the country in the nation. And the last but not the least is good talent. Good talent, technology can only do so much. Good people, nothing else can replace. So I've been very lucky that we've had great people who sometimes I feel are more committed to the OYO cause than myself also, which is very inspiring to me. And be close to them. Don't ever alienate yourself from your last mile people. Be very close to them so you can learn from them constantly. There is no, I have no qualm in saying that one of my core competencies is that I'm very close to our front office manager, our last mile hotel managers, revenue leads, relationship managers, and I learn as much as I can from them, and that becomes our product market, right? I have to do more, I keep reminding myself. So these are my big picture learnings to scale up, and scale up doesn't require a lot of money. Unless you want to scale to hundreds of cities in 1 year. If you want to scale few cities every year, that can be done just with these three things, right? And reinvesting a part of your income.
Well, thank you, Ritesh, for that playbook and those very specific examples. Now let me ask you about something that plays on every entrepreneur's mind. What got you here won't get you there, So what should we expect from Ritesh Agarwal and OYO in the future? And future, these days I tend to think of it in 12 to 18 months kind of window and not very long. Where is OYO headed? What are the new things that you're adding? Please share with the audience.
Absolutely, sir. So first thing is, I think I've believed in this philosophy of saying that when the sea has storm, then the fishermen should not just go sleep. In Goa, Goa is a big city for us. So that in Goa we say that don't have fanny and not go back to the sea.
Sharpen the nets.
Sorry.
They say when the sea has a storm, the fishermen don't go to sleep. They sharpen their nets.
Absolutely. So for last 2 years in our seas of travel business, there was storm. So we sharpened our nets. We improved our product in many interesting ways, which I hope that in the next 2 years will make positive difference. So a few things that I'm very excited about are the following. So the first is consumers increasingly, as we have a brand called Oyo Townhouse. A lot of our customers have increasingly moved towards choosing Oyo Townhouse. They really like the product or the service and so on. So we are very invested in increasing the number of Oyo Townhouse in the form of choices. And while everything is becoming more expensive, we are constantly thinking how can we not just keep the price the same, but can we find ways of reducing it a little bit while the occupancies are growing so much by means of improving our cost structure in those hotels in order to get customers to have better price point. And the reason I believe, it defies economic logic, typically the way we think about pricing. But the reason why we keep it is because repeat is the core of our business, right? More than 70% of our business comes from our repeat customers. So we want our customers to know that Oyo will provide us the absolute best experience at the right price, and if something wrong happens, there is somebody in the service, or I get a lot of personal messages, or on Twitter people tag me, but right from me to somebody in the team will take care of them instantly in order to make sure that we can ensure that they have a improved experience. So I think first is expanding choice with attractive prices is one thing that we're very focused on. Second, we're focused on new user segments. I have been talking a little bit about pilgrimage recently.
Spiritual tourism.
Spiritual tourism, right? So I was, in the last few months, I have been to Tirupati, Banaras, a bunch of other places across the country, and just the amount of consumer choices moving towards spiritual tourism and the resilience in COVID time, right? Like in COVID time, whenever the temples were open, these towns still had full traffic. People were still wanting to go as much as the acceptable capacity was for people to, visit. So we are going to be investing there. We are doing a lot more of family-based focus. A lot of people who started using Oyo have now become, parents with little children, like, young kids. So we are investing in sort of, free pricing for children below 6 years. Children's play area in sort of, in the leisure hotels. So family-based segment is a big part of our focus. Rewarding loyalty. Look, repeat is our biggest business, as I said, and it is growing. So we launched Wizard Plus recently, where every 5 nights you stay with Oyo in a year, we give you a night free. Or for example, we brought Guest Plus if you stay with. So we want to make loyalty more rewarding. We want customers to say that, why did I stay for just 6 nights in a year? Why not 8? Why not 10? Why not 12? So these are a few things that we are invested in. And on the hotel owners side, we are working with them to reinvest and upgrade their facilities constantly so that our consumers can have better service. So big picture, sir, the big takeaway is that travel across India will probably see 2 of their best years in the next 2 years. As that happens, Oyo, as one of the preeminent companies in the segment of travel, we believe that we will lead the path not just in innovating, but also in impacting as many users, which, like I told you, enthuses me and my colleagues a lot. So that's what is my belief in the next 12 to 18 months. But at the same time, and because we are on file, I can't share financials yet, but you will see more results. You will see that our margins, operating bottom line, will also demonstrate very healthy improvement with more consumers, more business, more service quality improvement as well. So we are hoping to bring growth and bottom line at the same time in the next 12 to 18 months is what our hope
Will we
is.
see an IPO from Oyo in the next month?
I think, sir, as you know, we are on file. We filed our DRHP with the regulator. I think at this point of time, we are at a place where we believe that the business has dramatically transformed from the results that we had filed with. So we would like to file newer results in the future, and then consider a potential offering, of course, with the market situation.
My last question before I bring in some audience questions, there are many entrepreneurs in the room. My last question to you is, Ritesh, what do you think about on a daily basis? Of course, you think about growing OYO, growing the entrepreneurial ecosystem, but what are the things that you think about beyond work? What is the typical things that you are concerned about? You know, how do you spend your daily day? Because there are demands on your time to speak at conferences. Ritesh is also a fellow board member at my alma mater, MDI. So he's in demand. He was the IDBI nominee on the MDI board. He's the youngest board member there, and people wanting your time to invest in companies, people wanting your mentoring time. You have a family. Your brother got married recently. So what is a typical day, and what do you think of? I'm not going to ask you when are you getting married and all. I don't ask such questions to young people. Okay.
So first off, I think I get that. But let me try and sort of limit them and share some. I think I'm very fascinated by Indian companies being started in India and becoming global. If you look at our country's rise in the last few years, it is unprecedented. Today, India in a global stage is at a place where absolutely any big global change that happens, you will not just find India there, you will find India setting the agenda in those places, whether it is COP26, whether it is India's commitment on AI, ML, world trade, and so on. I think that will not just happen with the government, it will also happen with entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs who would want to say that we will build great global companies being built from Bengaluru, from Gurgaon, from Mumbai, from Chennai, from Hyderabad, and various places in the country. And I always think about how do we build enduring large-scale consumer brands from India. Today, if you drive around Jakarta, Kuala Lumpur, London, it's impossible to miss an OYO hotel. How do we have many consumer brands who try and do that? Because it's easy to get a Swiss chocolate or a Swiss watch in the 30th town in India, but not the other way around to get an Indian consumer brand in the 30th or the 40th town in one of these countries. And I think that is something that I'm very fascinated about. I'm personally, of course, living the impact there, but I'd like to make sure that is there a way that there can be more successful, large impact companies? And there is a lot that's happening already. You can see there's a lot of Indian companies that are making a positive difference, not just now, even in the past, right? Look at, Bharat Forge, all the IT companies. They've all started back in the day and they have created big impact and global impact. But I believe that there is so much more we can do. Second thing that I think fascinates me is the opportunity of supporting young entrepreneurs building businesses. I don't know if folks from Zareen are here, but they're there. So we started a program in Naropa Fellowship where we support entrepreneurs in the hills, right? In Jammu and Kashmir, in Himachal, who are setting up businesses. As equity-free grants we would provide. So we provided some grant to a trout fishing company, somebody who's selling Kashmiri yarn and products. And they've all become so successful. One of the companies is Zareen, but there are many. There's the Himalayan chocolate and few others which are all doing very well.
I always send you my investee company products. You never send me. Send me some. I had to buy chocolate last night and eat.
We'll
send me the
Himalayan
chocolate.
My bad. Did I not give you the Kashmiri box? No, I haven't. So sorry about that. I'll make sure I send all of those with interest, which is slightly higher than usual. And the last thing is, I think I'm very fascinated about the cause of animals. I believe that they play a big part in just sustenance of our ecosystem, and just doing more to be able to support. I have not done anything there, to be properly honest. I think in global expansion, I try to speak to every entrepreneur in India wanting to scale, and I have over the last 2 years, at least 10 companies have gone global. In entrepreneurship, I try to support as many companies and entrepreneurs I can. But in animal, I think that's an area that I'm very fascinated about, but I have not been able to do a lot there.
And I must say that, and life is our abundance. I have 2 children. My daughter is now 18, my son is almost 14. And my daughter, when she was 14, we enrolled her for the Thai Young Business Plan competition, and it did kind of do wonders to her exposure and her confidence and to her. I remember I used to take her at 8 a.m. on Sunday for the first class, and she said, "Clearly, Papa, you don't like me because you're waking me up at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning when I sleep." But by the third class, she was looking forward to going to the class. She wrote a book and she's done okay. And then I thought of something called the Prodigy Club, which is entrepreneurs under 20. I don't want to call it 20 under 20. It's because I don't want to define a number, whether we'll get 8, 10, 15, 20, we don't have to be 20. And, for 6 months I didn't launch it because I said the only person in my knowledge who should be chairing that jury is Ritesh. And about 4 weeks back, I requested Ritesh to be the jury chair for the BW Disrupt Prodigy Club, which is primarily 20 under 20, but we don't call it. So, you can spread the word. And